Good afternoon, good morning. It's Mark Johnson from Loyalty360. Hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. I want to welcome you back to another edition of Loyalty Live. In this series, as you know, we speak with the leading agencies, technology partners, and consultants, customer channel and brand loyalty about the technology trends and best practices they are seeing in the industry and a brand's ability to help them drive unique experiences, enhance engagement, but most importantly, impact customer loyalty. It allows for a deeper insight into the state of customer loyalty as we surface a number of challenges in our day-to-day existence as talking to brands, and it allows for these amazing partners of ours to give a reflection on what they are seeing and how to address them. So today we have the pleasure of speaking with Rachel Bicking. She's the Chief Digital Officer for Tenerity. How are you today, Rachel?
I'm great. How are you, Mark?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. When we start these, we like to get a more personal kind of kickoff to them, like to know the people we're speaking with. So would love to know a little bit about you, your current roles at Tenerity, and maybe a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I'm Rachel Bicking. As introduced, I am the Chief Digital Officer at Tenerity, and lucky enough to have an amazing team behind me of product managers, product strategists, marketing, data analytics, technology, and our client services organization as well. I am super passionate about not only automation and machine learning, but using those tools in coordination with to deliver the humankind behind the automation and make that happen for the outcome of loyalty. So as you know, I talk about some of the things that I really love. Here, digital transformation is number one on my list.
Okay. Digital transformation, something that Tenerity focuses on, kind of a new entity. Tenerity been around for a while in kind of different entities. And for those who don't know what Tenerity is, how you guys came into being, it'd be great to get a little bit of a background on Tenerity, how it was formed, what you guys do, industries you focus on.
Sure. So starting at the highest level up, our commitment at Tenerity is to connect consumers with the right content, benefit, incentive, experience at the right time using machine learning and automation. So what does that mean for our consumers? The end consumer is able to get the best offer, whether that's cash back, a gift card, some type of experience that they wouldn't be able to receive anywhere else, local restaurant offers, whatever it is that motivates them and to keep them connected with the brand. And we're making that promise by delivering the largest breadth of our content catalog that's out there. Now, what that creates, of course, is a machine learning problem. How do we make sure that each consumer is getting the offer, incentive, benefit that would motivate them to keep coming back? That's where our data and analytics really comes in. We gamify those offers, so make them very, very engaging, keep our consumers coming back. And we put that all in a really nice, easy to use customer experience, whether it's app or desktop or even in store, connecting all of our channels through our data. So, you know, as we look at what we're creating, we are delivering loyalty to our brands and intelligently engaging consumers at every single point in their journey, whether it's to acquire them and give them the right reason to deliver that engagement for the brand, or it's to retain them and grow them or create advocacy. So that's the brand promise we have here at Tenerity. Historically, you know, we separated from CX Loyalty over a year ago when the travel side of the business got acquired by JP Morgan Chase. We have been in the loyalty business for over 15 years, delivering this for retailers, hospitality, financial services, utilities, energy, restaurant, really just across the board, any type of organization that is looking for reasons and ways to connect with their consumer on a daily basis.
Okay. You mentioned content, and content's a very unique word as well. It has a more holistic meaning right now, from products, services, offering. Can you describe what you guys feel is content and how you use it to drive that engagement and drive, through gamification and other means?
Yeah, absolutely. So if this is the example I love to use internally. You have 100 people in just as a microcosm, 100 people in your audience set. We try to figure out whatever that offer, benefit, voucher, cashback, whatever that opportunity is that would engage that consumer appropriately to bring them to the site to check out. So if you look at some of the loyalty programs as they exist today, they maybe have travel in one area, gift card in another area. They've got some always on cash back, and then maybe some offers. And if you're not particularly appealing to each of those 100 individuals, then you're never going to get the type of adoption you want. So in a standard loyalty program, you may have, of the individuals who are active and eligible, 50% who are using the benefits that they have. Our belief and thesis is that if you have the right content that would then fulfill 100 of those individuals, and we can personalize it in the right way, then you can really encourage greater activation and adoption. So if we just kind of kick off based on some like high level numbers here, right? You've got travel content maybe at 8% of so 8 of those people, we check off the list. Gift card is maybe another 6 to 10. And then we start bringing in cash back, which actually gets a really large portion, let's say 25 to 30 for cash back and card linked. And then once we get to that top 50, which is really where most of the brands focus, because that's the easy, that's 50%, right? Now, how do we get super granular to understand, all right, well, we've got an exclusive concert. Fantastic. That's another 4 people, right? 4, great. NFTs, that's 2. Carbon credits, that's another 3. Then we start to add in sustainability, online gaming, really anything that you can possibly think of. And I think as we're all shoppers and consumers as well, I think we can all ask, what is the thing that would motivate me to take an action to become more loyal and engage with a brand, potentially a brand that I've never engaged with before? And there is something for everyone. Our goal is to figure out, assess, use the data and analytics we have today, and have that out of the box in our catalog to turn on what is that specific thing that will appeal to each individual.
Okay, great. When you look at customer loyalty, we always like to get a kind of qualitative understanding of how people define customer loyalty and other terms within the industry, but customer loyalty being the most important. How do you define customer loyalty, maybe versus engagement? How do you delineate between them? And, what does customer loyalty mean to your organization?
Yeah. So for me, customer loyalty is the outcome, right? That's what we're trying to deliver to. Customer loyalty is the enthusiasm, the advocacy, the feeling that I am attached to a brand and I will choose that brand amongst other brands when given an option. So it's the stickiness factor, right? That's the outcome we're trying to deliver. Whereas engagement is the tactic or it's the enabler to deliver that loyalty. So when we look at what our platform does, we believe we create loyalty through our intelligent engagement platform.
Got it. When you look at profitable loyalty, you've mentioned that as well. Yeah. Metrics is a big challenge for brands right now. We're actually doing a large metric study, KPI study, that we're going to be releasing at the conference. But understanding what profitable loyalty is to brands is very challenging, right? From the cost of the product, how it's looked at, how you may be looking at customer lifetime value. It's a big, big challenge brands have. So when you look at profitable loyalty, how does that tie back to engagement?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's a lot to unpack there in that question, right? Because you're bringing customer lifetime value and a ton of other metrics. But when we think about profitable loyalty, I think loyalty traditionally has been focused on some of those inferred metrics that if we engage a consumer, they are less likely to attrite. They're less likely to leave our brand. If we have these incentives, we have this value, we have these points in some cases, then that gives our consumers reasons to keep coming back. But there's not always that direct attribution for the loyalty program. And the way that we've approached this is twofold. So first, we are measuring what that inferred revenue or that inferred profit is through some of those metrics, as you suggest: customer lifetime value, reduction of attrition, understanding the membership and the active members versus the non-active or non-members to really understand what that incremental value looks like. But additionally, because of our breadth of content that we're bringing to the table at Tenerity, there's some direct revenue delivered from the actual content that we're providing. So if we can create that network effect, right, where we have all of our network of merchants that's we're bringing to the table, those merchants are bringing the best offers possible, which in turn is attracting the best clients and customers. And the more merchants that then are brought to the table with better offers, and of course, we're providing data back to these guys to understand exactly what's working and not, so that we have an understanding and appreciation for where we should go next. Then that creates for us this really wonderful triangle where the more volume of consumers, the better offers we're getting, which creates more consumers, which then creates both direct and this indirect measure of profit and loyalty.
Okay. When you look at the evolution, customer loyalty is evolving. You talk about gamification, you talked about trends, you talk about NFTs. It's definitely evolving in a pretty complex manner for some brands more so than others. When you look at brands who are looking to try to evolve their loyalty efforts, to engage customers, to reward customers beyond transactions, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, the key here is, one, to make your brand likable, right? Likable and memorable. So how do you do that, and what is your audience? I think what we're seeing is that loyalty programs and engagement programs are blurring the lines between channels. So whether it is a physical channel, the metaverse or some version of it, or your digital channel, which everybody has in front of them 90% of the day now, what we're really seeing is that consumers want to interact with a brand in the moment. So having the ability to be always on, and in this, I think it's super, super duper important, is to not be boring. And I don't mean that facetiously. I mean, we have to continue to provide new and exciting elements for the consumers so that they come back with the level of frequency that we would require. And that's where I think a lot of the traditional gaming companies have been super successful at effectively delivering loyalty. I mean, the amount of people that stay up every night playing video games is pretty incredible. Intrinsically, they have an emotional attachment to video games, right? So how do we create that universe around any brand? And I think that's the question and what we're delivering. So as we think about the future of our product and think about how some of these more immersive experiences really play in, the metaverse has an amazing opportunity for us, not only in terms of NFTs and user-generated content and delivering more of a community of economy around that, but also just in terms of a user experience. I mean, the metaverse is fun, right? It's exciting. It's just an interesting way to experience a brand and to learn about what that brand is doing, and to be able to really have a virtual community that otherwise we would never be able to achieve.
Excellent. When you look at ability to cut through the noise, you talked about having a likable brand, being able to create unique engagement, understanding the content that resonates. How do you enable brands to do that? Because that's a big challenge we hear from our membership on the brand side is, be able to cut through, to be relevant, to be timely. It's a significant challenge that brands are having. What's working from your perspective for brands that you work with, or maybe even the brands that you're seeing that are being able to stand out from their competitors?
So this may not be the most wildly innovative answer in the world, but I think it's the right one. And I think it's consistency. So a lot of brands focus, I believe, on some of these bing bang milestones where they'll throw out a marketing campaign and then you don't hear from them for a very long time. And I think having the consistency where consumers come back, they know there's always something fun to discover. There's a fun game. There's a fun opportunity. There's an ability to be immersed in that brand without being fatigued, really, is where I think we're doing it well right now. And I think the brands that are doing it well and continually creating that customer loyalty, they're focusing on consistency and making sure that every single day they have a new reason to talk to their consumers, which, you and I both know, Mark, that's not easy, right? You need first reasons to talk to the consumer, but then you also need automation because you can't scale that in a way technically with that many people. So you need to really invest in that intelligence. You need to invest in the platform to be able to do that at scale. But I think that's what consumers are really looking for is how do I interact with a brand and always find something, if I go back to them on a daily basis, that I can find something new and interesting.
Absolutely. Emotional loyalty is another topic. I think you touched on it a few times in our discussion today. How do you define emotional loyalty and how are you advising clients on emotional loyalty?
I think emotional loyalty is one of those really tough to measure pieces, right? I mean, I like to measure it through advocacy and chatter so you can understand how passionate individuals are, how passionate everybody is about your brand and about your product and your loyalty program. So I think first establishing the right measurement cycle for what are you talking about? How are you understanding it? And how are we making sure that we're making progress? But also just from a philosophical level, I do think it's the end game, but do all consumers feel emotional loyalty to every brand? I think that's a pragmatic question to ask. Do you feel emotional loyalty to your utilities company? Maybe not, right? I think we don't always have a choice in all countries on which utilities company we use. So the argument would be maybe the goal is not always emotional loyalty. It's the growth and the evolution of your attachment and your feelings towards a brand up that spectrum. And what does it take to make sure that you're doing whatever that consumer is expecting? And in a utilities case, it's different than a restaurant, right? You're doing those things that they're expecting as well as possible. And then you're exceeding their expectations in other areas. And I think that really delivers that attachment. And it seems kind of simple, right? Do the basics well, and then take some of those pieces and elevate them. But it is, I think, a formula for understanding exactly how you can deliver that attachment of being better than your competition.
Absolutely. And one final question we have, we've discussed a lot today, great insight from you. And I think, I have great respect for you and your product and your offering. I think you have a unique pulse in the market. I've always felt that way. When you look at one piece of advice you could give to a brand who's looking to improve their customer loyalty efforts, a lot of challenges out there, too much data, technology doesn't work, the number of significant challenges, macroeconomic challenges now. What is one piece of advice you would give to a brand who's looking to improve their customer loyalty efforts?
I think number one is that we should be focused and brands should be focused on simply engaging that consumer. So whether they're calling it loyalty or they're calling engagement, I think focus with that end goal in mind, understand what that vision looks like, and then take the steps to get there, right? So when we think about engagement, we think about timing, tone, and treatment, right? So making sure that we're not debilitating a program before it even starts because we've got the timing wrong, right? What are the offers? What are going to be part of this catalog? And most simply, how do we centralize all of that into one place to make it easier for a customer? Because if you can't find it, my guess is your consumer can't find it either. And therefore, those benefits you're just not getting credit for.
Makes sense. Well, Rachel, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. It's always great catching up with you personally, and also great hearing more about Tenerity, and looking forward to learning more from you in the coming year. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure you join back again soon for another edition of Loyalty Live. Have a wonderful day.